Two ways to look at Buffalo's wild comeback. Either it means nothing, given it's only week 1, or it means everything. I'll tell you which one that is. Plus, there's only one way to look at Lamar Jackson shoving a fan, and the only thing he did wrong was apologize. All that and much more straight ahead. I'm Doug Kezirian, formerly of ESPN, and now 25 years in broadcasting. This is Hard Pass, also available in podcast. Did Sunday Night Football really tell us anything? I mean, haven't we seen Josh Allen make incredible throws and impressive drives? Ultimately, all that matters is the postseason. But he does look more poised and relaxed, especially in that post-game interview. So maybe this is the year he gets 2 rings after getting married last June. Perhaps that's having a domino effect on his play. But honestly, if the Ravens hung on to the lead late, would you think any less of Josh Allen in his performance? Of course not. So maybe we shouldn't overreact to the other side of things, given Josh Allen did have that touch or game-winning drive. But it's all about the playoffs and getting over the hump. Truthfully, for me, my biggest takeaway is that this game should serve as a shock to the system of all the archaic thinking of NFL coaches, but sadly, I doubt it will. It should open everyone's eyes to the stupidity of some coaches' decision-making, but sadly, I feel they're going to continue to do the same because the status quo protects them, doesn't get them questioned by front office or management or owners or anything like that. It's still clueless, lacks innovation, but so to their bosses, they think that as well. Ironically, the Ravens are usually the ones that are aggressive and progressive, but John Harbaugh wasted 2 golden opportunities, nothing bigger than that 4th and 3 when he decided to punt Baltimore on its own 38. The book says to punt only because that's what's always been done. But why? Josh Allen just ripped off back-to-back touchdown drives. You have the human cheat code in Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. You've converted all 3rd and 3s the entire game. So why would you punt to Buffalo? Frankly, the Bills wanted you to punt. That's your golden rule. That's your rule of thumb. Instead, the Ravens punted, put the ball in Josh Allen's hands, and go figure he burned you. You netted 42 yards on the punt. Field position didn't really matter because they have Josh Allen. He can make up those 42 yards with one play. I've always said possession over position, as in field position. These coaches need to get with the times and get out of the Stone Age, even John Harbaugh. And that bums me out because he was one of the ones leading that charge of thinking outside the box. You absolutely cannot punt in that situation. Like I said, Buffalo wanted you to punt. They didn't want to put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands and have their defense try to stop 4th and 3. They'd rather be backed up with the ball rather than a first down with Lamar Jackson ices the game. They'd want the ball in their MVP's hands. Am I being too harsh? Let me know what your thoughts are. What was your thought process at the time? Would you take the punt? Automatic punt because you're on your own 38? Just saying, I didn't at the time. I wanted a punt, but let me know your thoughts. Join the conversation for sure. As you would imagine, a lot of reaction on social media, and time now for a heat check, and some interesting ones to say the least. Eric Rosenthal, podcaster, does some really creative stuff on X. You would have to arrest me before I punted this ball to Josh Allen. Aaron Briggs, a fan out there, the Ravens were 3 yards away from winning the game and decided to punt the ball to an offense that had already scored 38 on them. Trevor Sikkema, media member at Pro Football Focus. Ravens' decision to punt will be a fascinating one to discuss. Even in the moment I was torn, but felt like I would have punted it. But the reality is, when you're facing a top 5 quarterback, punting it back to them is just a way to make yourself feel good about a bad decision. And I really love how Trevor phrased that. It just makes you feel good about a bad decision because that's the way it's always been done, right? That's going to keep your job because management and owners are older, and that's the traditional approach to football. Now, on top of that, the Ravens also scored a touchdown in the 4th quarter to go up 15. Analytics actually say go for 2 because if you get it, a 17-point lead is a 3-score lead. Instead, they decide to kick and miss the extra point, so it remained a 15-point lead. 16 or 17 would have been a huge difference. Nonetheless, John Harbaugh did not go for what analytics usually says to go up 17. Ultimately, as well as Josh Allen played, this game was about Baltimore choking, which sadly has been par for the course for the Ravens. Allen has performed great for a while. He won the MVP last year. This is not an example of him finally getting over the hump. That means, is this the Bills' year? No, I mean, last year they went to Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. And then later in the postseason, they lost to Kansas City. So not to be the fun police, but this is a great win, right? It's a great win. Maybe helps them get the 1 seed. And on the heels of Kansas City losing within the division, Chiefs may not even win their own division. But still, ultimately, all that matters is the playoffs, because the Bills have already proven that they can perform in the regular season. This is not the little brother punching up. They're in the conversation. Baltimore is too. Sadly, they've laid some eggs in the playoffs, but the Bills have already made some moves and made some noise in the regular season. All that matters is them getting to the Super Bowl and finally winning one, right? They lost 4 straight back in the day. But I'm not going to overreact to this. I'm just going to say it's another example of Baltimore laying an egg, and we need to start thinking outside the box in this day and age, especially when these uber talented quarterbacks are involved. Now, you could say the Bills got the ball in a similar situation last year against the Chiefs in the playoffs and did not move the ball up the field and convert on 4th down, but they made the plays this time against Baltimore. These are 2 different teams. That was against KC. So this time, I think the Ravens choked. Derrick Henry fumbled, botched clock management at the end of the first half that allowed Buffalo to get a late field goal. Ravens did not go for 2, and they also missed the extra point. And worst of all, they took the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hands and decided to give it to Josh Allen when all they needed was 3 yards to ice the game. Almost exact same situation. 2009, so over 15 years ago, Bill Belichick with the Patriots facing the Colts in Indy. Belichick went for it on 4th and 2 in his own territory instead of punting to Peyton Manning. The live betting markets at the time made New England an even bigger favorite because that decision improved their chances of winning. Yes, they failed to convert because it was a juggling catch and turned the ball over on downs and eventually lost. But that would have probably happened if they punted. The outcome should not be grading the decision. All you should do is grade the decision at the time. This was yet another Ravens collapse as we hit another heat check. And this was some ridiculous stats. If you don't believe me that this is pattern for the Ravens, take a look at this. Josh Dubois of the Associated Press. John Harbaugh's 17 blown double-digit leads in the second half are most since at least 1991. NFL Plus. The Ravens are the first team in NFL history to score 40-plus points and rush for at least 235 yards in a loss. Teams previously were 277-0, including the playoffs. Yeah, let's make that 277-1. Ben Solak of ESPN, the Ravens have now lost 8 games since the 2021 season, which they at one point had a win probability of at least 90%. That's 3 more than the next closest team. Honestly, I feel for Lamar Jackson because this one isn't entirely on him, but he's often gets blamed, especially for some playoff poor performances. Now, he should shoulder some blame for this, understandable, but ultimately this one's on John Harbaugh for botching key decisions in the fourth quarter, specifically that one to punt. Now, if that wasn't enough, Lamar got caught in a heated exchange with a Bills fan during the game. Late third quarter, Ravens get a touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins celebrating in the end zone. Bills fan in a red shirt actually hits Hopkins on the helmet and then shoves Lamar Jackson, who shoves him back. Now, fortunately, Jackson was not ejected or anything, but I'm worried the league will step in the next couple of days for cancel culture, if you will. Lamar was asked about it afterwards and frankly was more apologetic than I would have been.
I seen him slap D-Hop, but I wasn't good. He slapped me and he talking. So I just forgot where I was for a little bit, but you gotta think in those situations. You got security out there, let security handle it. But I just let my emotions get the best of me. But hopefully it don't happen again. I learned from that.
Again, I would not have apologized. He did absolutely nothing wrong. The fans do not have the right to touch a player, let alone shove him. For all Lamar knows, a few other guys were going to get involved. This is Bills Mafia, okay? They're known for being wild. In the same game, Derrick Henry scored a touchdown and a drink or something came flying in his direction in the end zone. Lamar has a right to defend himself. In the moment, he took quick inventory of who it was. It wasn't a little kid. The guy was proper size and weight, so he gave him an appropriate push. Did nothing wrong. We have to realize that we saw the entire situation from our vantage point, right? We knew all the parties involved and whatnot. But Jackson's on the field. He's lower looking up. He's a target. He saw his teammate get hit in the head. So how's he supposed to know that the incident was going to escalate further? How do we even know in a placebo effect that the incident wouldn't have escalated? Maybe Lamar nipped it in the bud. I pray to God the league doesn't get involved, make an example of Lamar. It'd be stupid. This was not malice in the palace. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree? Should Lamar have taken the high road? Do athletes have that obligation to take the high road? Am I giving him too much latitude given he's a dynamic athlete? Here's some unruly fan. Or do fans need to actually face the music sometimes and suffer some consequences, or at least understand that they're putting themselves in a situation that they could have avoided and that the athlete is allowed a certain amount of response? Let me know your thoughts. Join the conversation. Time now for Fans in the Stands, and this is when we respond to our audience, our fans in the stands, in the comments section. And as always, we love it when you chime in. So please join the conversations, we like to say. Let us know what you like, what you dislike, suggestions for the show. We welcome it all. And please always like and subscribe. It is the currency in this YouTube world. First comment is from Chris Claiborne in response to that Spitgate incident from the Cowboys-Eagles NFL opener. Jalen Carter was smiling when he got ejected. He'll get fined, but he'll be back starting next week. He hurt his team, but in this look at me age of sports, you will have that. It's a fair point, and I'm not going to be speaking with incredible certainty because I don't know what was going through Jalen Carter's head, but I think it was one of those smiling situations where he's like, I can't believe this just happened. It's more of a shock. It's more of a, I got duped by Dak. I don't think he was happy per se, like the conventional smile would suggest. I don't think he was laughing. I think he was just dumbfounded and like one of those like, wow. But again, I'm not in Jalen Carter's head. Appreciate the perspective, of course. Mikey Bombers 2529 says, they don't make enough. Unreal. And this is in response to Steve Ballmer and the allegation of the Clippers paying Kawhi Leonard more than the max player contract, circumventing the salary cap. And I'm with you right there. I get it. It's against the rules. They make plenty. But it's classic case of supply and demand. There is more demand than there is supply of superstars. And Kawhi could get a max player deal from a bunch of teams. So he was trying to get more, allegedly, based on some rumblings with his agent. His uncle was negotiating throughout the last couple times he was a free agent. But if it's prevalent, other teams doesn't make it right. But I could see why Kawhi's team was sort of trying to push the envelope. But the league has hired a law firm. If they did, in fact, circumvent the salary cap or Kawhi's team did things, there will be punishment handed down. Not all teams doing this, according to a bunch of NBA insiders, say they've heard from other NBA teams saying not everyone does this. It's been done or versions of this. But this is pretty overt. But I've always disliked the max player contract. I believe in free enterprise, right? A free market. Why is there a cap on an individual player's salary? I'm okay with the team, but I think within the salary cap for the team, players should be able to make whatever they want. Could let teams figure out how they want to pay players and allocate their funds. Mark Preston, 6115, saying the Ballmer situation seems sticky, and I agree that it won't go away, as it shouldn't. Maybe the no-show deals are more common. He's just the first being caught. Mark Cuman coming to defend him seems strange to me. The second aprons are huge costs. So if this is true, then Silver could land a huge hammer here. Curious on what the punishment would even be. Has to be more than just a big fine. Also, just not knowing or keeping an eye on $50 million investment. What a life, LOL. And that's the thing. Steve Ballmer did invest $50 million originally to that company Aspiration and then didn't really get involved. It was sort of an afterthought. Yeah, a couch change, right? For the sixth richest man in the world and the richest owner in all of sports, Steve Ballmer. So that's one thing that was pretty funny that Mark Preston here pointed out. But I do think they can drop the hammer. Curious to hear what you guys think. What should be the appropriate punishment be for the Clippers if, in fact, this investigation determines and reveals that the Clippers committed the violation of circumventing the salary cap? Back in the day, Joe Smith, that's the one comp to this, and they took away first-round picks, things like that. Maybe Kawhi becomes a free agent. Clippers have a lower salary cap figure. I'd love to hear your input on what you think the league should do to the Clippers if, in fact, Steve Ballmer and the Clippers are found guilty of circumventing the salary cap. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Hard Pass. Wild comeback for the Bills. I'm not saying it's a no-nothing game, but we'll see what this really means come playoff time.